Hi, I want to start off by saying something really clear because I think a lot of women need to hear this right away. If you have ever been in a moment where someone pointed out that you were pulling or someone gave you advice that you didn't ask for and your body just reacted instantly, that reaction makes complete sense. The tight chest, the heat in your body, the urge to explain yourself, snap back, shut down, possibly even wanting to disappear. That is not you being dramatic, and it is not being immature. It is also, fun facts, not a willpower issue, okay? It is your nervous system trying to protect you, though. So today I want to talk about why moments like, don't you know you're pulling, and the moments where you're given that unsolicited advice can feel so intense in your body. Because even though they look different on the surface to your nervous system, they are the same experience. Okay? They both shine a light on something that you are trying to manage privately, and they both remove choice and they both activate shame. And this is not about learning better comebacks, and it's not about forcing yourself to react differently. All right. It is about understanding your body instead of constantly feeling like you're fighting it. And if you're new here, my name is Alicia. I help women who feel trapped in shame, isolated in silence, and exhausted from fighting their own mind break free from the grip of trichotillomania so they can rebuild trust with their body and feel in control again. Nervous system regulation is at the core of everything I teach because nothing actually changes until your body feels safer. So here's the part that changed everything for me. Your body reacts before your brain can even get a vote, okay? So when someone says something like, hey, don't you know you're pulling? Or my favorite, why don't you just stop? Your system does not pause and go, oh, they're just trying to be helpful. Your system literally asks one question and it asks it really fast. Am I safe right now? And if your body has learned over time that being noticed, corrected, or pointed out comes with shame, it's going to react. Think of your nervous system like a smoke detector, right? A smoke detector does not analyze the situation whatsoever. It does not care if it is burnt toast or an actual fire. It just goes off. Once that alarm goes off, logic goes right out the window. And that is why you can know with every fiber of your being that someone means well and still feel completely activated. This is not a mindset problem. It is a protection response. Now, most women do not realize this, but defensiveness usually shows up in a few different ways. A lot of people talk about the three major F's: fight, flight, or freeze. But in my experience, especially with trichotillomania, there are definitely two more common nervous system responses. So there's fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and fidget. I know I messed, whatever, right? Fight is when you snap. You argue, you explain yourself, you feel that immediate urge to defend your choices. Yeah. And then there's flight. Now, that's when you change the subject, you minimize the situation, or you try to get out of the situation as fast as you possibly can. And then freeze is when your mind goes blank, you go quiet, or you say something that is not even true just to make the moment stop. Like saying, I only pulled one piece, even though you know that's not very accurate, right? I want to tell you that it is not manipulation. That is literally your nervous system trying to shut the moment down. Then there's fawn. Fawn is when you people please. You try to smooth things over, or you try to make the other person comfortable, even though you are completely activated. And then there's fidget. That one's pretty well known, right? Fidgeting is when your nervous system is trying to discharge that stored up energy. Now, for those of us with trichotillomania, that fidget response typically is the hair pulling. I want to slow this down and really talk about the experience of being caught pulling, because this is where so much of the shame really lives, right? For most of us with trichotillomania, pulling is not something that we want to be seen doing. We are usually already trying to hide it, right? We're adjusting our hair, we're turning our body, we're positioning our hands so that no one notices, right? So when someone does say, hey, don't you know you're pulling? Right? It's a whole visceral thing. And it's not just bringing awareness to it. It's a feeling of being exposed. And exposing something we were actively trying to manage privately. Okay. Now, I've been caught pulling my hair by my family members, friends, my husband, even my kids. And even though I know their intentions are absolutely coming from a good place, my body reacts before I can even remind myself of that. And there's sometimes I freeze, so I'll go quiet and I feel really small. And then I also will feel embarrassed. That frozen, shame-filled feeling, it doesn't calm my system, right? It creates more internal agitation, which often leads to fidgeting later. Obviously, for me, that's hiding somewhere where I can pull, right? Other times, I have found myself to snap, right? I get really sharp with people. I get very defensive. And afterward, I don't feel empowered by any stretch of the means, right? I actually feel worse. So I go and I hide again. See the pattern? And when I hide, the pulling often increases even more. Then comes the shame spiral. Why did I react like that? Why can't I just handle this better? What's wrong with me? Sound familiar? But once I understood the nervous system, something just clicked. My body was not reacting to the words. In fact, you'll often hear me say your body doesn't speak English. Okay. What it was doing is it was reacting to the exposure, being seen without consent, being corrected in a vulnerable moment. My system did exactly what it learned to do to survive that. This is usually the moment where someone asks, okay, but what am I supposed to do when someone catches me? And I feel you, because now you see the pattern. You notice the defensiveness. You also know the shame spiral. All right. So let me be crystal clear with you. When someone points out that you were pulling, You do not need to explain yourself. In fact, you do not need to justify. You don't need to snap. And you don't need to disappear. In moments like that, the goal is not control. The goal is actually containment. For me, what changed everything was giving my body a simple, neutral response that did not add more fuel to the moment. Most of the time now, if my husband says something like, "Hey, honey," I just simply say thank you. That is it. Not sarcastically, not defensively, just a simple thank you. That phrase does so many important things. It acknowledges the moment without turning it into some type of confrontation. Okay. It also keeps my body out of the fight or freeze. And it also reminds my nervous system that I'm not alone in this. Healing does not mean no one ever notices. What it does mean is you do not collapse into shame when they do. When you are in a relationship that feels safe, that simple thank you can feel so supportive instead of threatening. It becomes information, not exposure. I want to share another story because this one shows what self-led communication can look like in a safe relationship. So, I've had trichotillomania for 28 years. I've been with my husband for 22 of those years, and he has walked through a lot of this journey with me. And one day we were sitting in the living room just catching up, and I started sharing with him something new I was experimenting with in my healing. And I told him, I didn't want to use a digital tracker anymore. It was so exciting. It felt freeing, right? It was kind of cool though. There was like this oops button, and every time I pressed it, it would go back to 0. And over time, though, it felt like I was losing progress. So my idea was to switch to a paper calendar with stickers. And I made this simple rule for myself. Even if I only pulled one hair, I still got a sticker. And for me, that felt really supportive and it felt steady. And as I'm sharing this with him, he says, "No." I was like, "What?" He's like, "If you're going to get a sticker, you have to be completely abstinent." And then he compared trichotillomania to other disorders, right? My body reacted immediately. I snapped at him because I felt unheard. I felt judged. I felt that familiar urge to just defend myself. But something different happened this time. I noticed exactly what was happening in the moment. So I paused and I actually turned to him and I was like, "I am so sorry for snapping at you. I see what's happened here. I got triggered. And I know why I got triggered. I got triggered because I was trying to share something that I was excited about. I wasn't asking for advice." And so then I asked him, something really simple. It's actually something we did with our children while they were growing up. I said, "Do me a favor." I said, "If you could please just ask me, if I want you to just listen or if I want your advice." And that shifted everything. Like, no more did he feel like he was walking on eggshells and to talk about this. I mean, it cannot be the elephant in the room. And it's been amazing. Like, ever since we had that talk and he supports me the way that he does, like, It was clarity for me, but the awesome part was it also was clarity for him. This is what self-leadership actually looks like. Sometimes it's simply naming what you need. Sometimes it's disengaging. And sometimes it's simply understanding what your body is doing. You do not need thicker skin, and you do not need more willpower, okay? You need more safety. And safety starts when you understand your nervous system and what it's doing instead of constantly fighting with it. So today, go gently with yourself. This is not about fixing you. It is about learning how to be with yourself in a different way. So I'll see you again soon.